welcome to the channel. I'm back to take a first look at this Week 1 NFL DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Excited to get into it, the NFL being back. Of course, there's going to be a lot of hype, a lot of excitement around it, and there's a lot of prizes, big prizes to be won across the industry, so really excited to get in this breakdown. We're going to take a quick look at some things like pace, which games I expect to shoot out, which guys I'm looking at, and then, of course, there's going to be different types of salary discrepancies across the industry. In Week 1, there might be some mispriced guys that are in bigger roles than we expected. We have some guys getting cut, some new QB stepping into starting roles, so excited to get into it. Before we do, a quick reminder, this video is brought to you by PrizePicks. Sign up today using promo code KJK DFS to receive an instant match deposit up to $100. If you're not familiar with PrizePicks, it's another DFS site very similar to FanDuel and DraftKings, but instead of having to compete against these sharks at 150 entry type of guys, you're just competing against a line. You pick a prop and whether they go over or under, etc. So a lot of the data that I'm going to be going over in this video, you can apply over at PrizePicks. Sign up today, and let's go ahead and start getting into this video. Week 1, there's a lot to go over here, of course, but as far as the pace of games and that kind of thing, that's the first thing that I'm really going to be eyeing, and I will say right away, the first game that really sticks out to me is going to be this Tennessee-Arizona game, expected to play at a very quick pace. There's a 52 over-under here and from the last season, and the way these two teams play call, I expect for there to be quite a bit of fireworks here. They're really just a matter of who we're going to be targeting. I think it's pretty simple on the Cardinals side. Very obvious we're going to be going to Kyler Murray. He can get the job done through the air. He can get the job done on the ground with his legs, and he always has a ton of upside, and he has some really good pairing options as well on the team with guys like DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green on the outside. You got Christian Kirk, a deep threat, and then you can pair him up with the tight end as well. And you can even put in a Chase Edmonds, who is a pass-catching running back at times, so you can definitely take advantage of the stack there. You're definitely wanting to be pairing Murray with two of his weapons. That's kind of how you want to do it in these big tournaments to get the most upside. And so that's the way I would go about it. But you could also play Kyler Murray on his own. He's just going to be in a tremendous spot here, I think, with this passing offense and the pace that this game's expected to be at. So I will say right away, this Cardinals offense is definitely sticking out to me in Week 1, Kyler Murray specifically. And then you can definitely run it back on the other side, of course, with the deep threats of A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, going to be a great wide receiver core over there in Tennessee this year with Ryan Tannehill, and Derrick Henry on the ground could always be a great play as well. In this fast up-tempo game, he should get plenty of carries. He's always going to be in play. You're looking at some of the games last year, he had 34 attempts in the game against Houston. It's really the only thing that's going to keep him from getting runs is if they get behind in this game. They are 156 favorites, so if they get up, he should maybe even get a few more carries. So definitely liking that game. That sticks out to me right away. Another game that I'm definitely going to be looking to in Week 1 is this Atlanta-Philadelphia game. Another game that really stands out from a pace aspect. Actually, in my projections, is going to be the fastest pace game, although it doesn't come in as the highest total. And a lot of really elite fantasy guys in this game on both sides. You got Jalen Hurts on the Eagles, a guy that can really get the job done on the ground as far as a QB, and I'm going to continue to say that with these QBs because at this point in this day's NFL, I really do think you need to be targeting QBs that can both run and pass. The upside's just too big to pass up on, and I definitely think that Jalen Hurts can provide you with that in this matchup against Atlanta. They were absolutely terrible secondary last year, and I think it's going to kind of continue to be the case this year. He's got a nice new shiny weapon on the outside in Devontae Smith, expected to be a really top talent, and then Jalen Reagor you can pair him up with as well, and a very good tight end core in Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. So definitely like the Eagles side, and I definitely like the Atlanta side as well, running it back. Calvin Ridley at 7-9 really stands out to me as a big upside play for sure, pairing up Matt Ryan. You got Mike Davis on the ground, who's expected to get some pretty serious workload after being kind of limited in Carolina. So he's finally going to get to show what he's capable of. We've seen him really step it up in the past with some big games. So but for the most part, you're really looking to target the passing game in this game. I think it could go back and forth. And, Russell Gage on the outside. You have Zacchaeus in the slot as well, making a lot of deep routes on the Atlanta side. So no issues with you going to either side of that game. I definitely like that game from a pace aspect, similar to the Arizona and Tennessee game. And then as far as QBs are concerned, one thing that's really standing out to me in week 1 is we definitely have some cheap guys that we can definitely be playing. Ryan Fitzpatrick in this game in the Washington, I think that you could be stacking him up with McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. I mean, he's only 5'5" and 21 implied run total. I mean, implied run total. It's not baseball season anymore. Sorry for that. 21.75 implied team total. And, you know, he's really cheap, so I will mention that I do have some interest in Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I also think this, as far as from a value aspect, this Jets-Carolina Panthers game is really standing out to me when we have guys that are priced so cheap. Namely Corey Davis as a wide receiver on the Jets side at 4.9. I think he's just too cheap. You got Elijah Moore and Jamison Crowder. Really, the whole Jets wide receiver corps is really cheap in week 1, so I will mention them from a value aspect. And I think on the Carolina side, you also do have some pretty significant value with Sam Darnold at the QB position and DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. And then keep in mind, of course, Christian McCaffrey is going to be, you know, the best play arguably anytime he touches the field because of how much volume he gets. So McCaffrey's a guy you have to have in every single week. I mean, he's going to get the targets, he's going to get the receptions, he's going to get the runs. I mean, his first week last year, he had 4 targets, 23 running attempts, and then as far as the season went on, you know, he was able to get up to like 10 targets in his return. And if he can stay healthy, he's just going to be a beast. So McCaffrey's a guy you definitely have to be prioritizing in your lineups in this matchup. And then with them being a 234 favorite, if they get up big, he should be able to get plenty more of running opportunities. So as far as that game, that's who you could be looking to there. The Colts passing game really stands. I mean, well, actually, before we get to them, the Bengals as well. The Bengals passing game is very, very cheap on DraftKings in week 1 as well. They're going to be a stack that I have a feeling is probably going to garner quite a bit of ownership, and for good reason. You know, I have to scroll my sheet here quite a while before I even see a Cincinnati name that's priced up, and it's Joe Mixon at 6.2. This game is expected to play at a pretty decent rate as far as pace. It's a 48 over/under. And as far as the pricing on DraftKings, like I said, I mean, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, they're just really cheap. T. Higgins at 4.7, I think is a tremendous play. I think Joe Mixon's a great play as running back. And then Joe Burrow, very cheap as well. And then on the opposite side, you do have the passing game in Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, and Thielen. They're definitely priced up, but they definitely have a lot of upside. Just a matter of if they're going to be battling with Dalvin Cook, who's going to be a great play. I think that this might be a matchup where maybe they go to the ground game a lot more, and Cook stands out rather than the pass game. So that's kind of would be my approach there. As far as a first look, I'd expect him to have a pretty big game here. In this particular matchup, I do like him. The Jags passing game, another one that has a lot of value. Trevor Lawrence, very cheap as a QB. And then you got DJ Chark. Marvin Jones at 3.6 is going to be a very popular play, and for good reason. He's expected to have a very large target share in this offense, and 3.6 is just too cheap on DraftKings. So I definitely like Marvin Jones. And then as far as the rest of the slate here, as we're going along, I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs and Cleveland game is definitely going to be a game that has some pretty respectable pace as well. It's a 53 over/under, top on the slate, and we know that the Kansas City offense is always going to be a very viable one to be going to because of the weapons that they offer with Mahomes, of course, and then you have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, the three-headed monster, so to speak. Always going to have interest in the Kansas City passing attack, and then you can run it back on the other side. Mayfield and then Beckham and Jarvis Landry. I'm sure they're going to have to be throwing a lot, being down in this game, expected to, with the Chiefs being a 270 favorite. So I really do like both sides there. I think that's another one of those fast up-paced games compared to the rest of the slate, similar to what we discussed with the Arizona, Tennessee, and the Philadelphia, Atlanta Falcons game. So that one really stands out to me there. And then as far as any other games, I mean, I definitely think that the Buffalo Bills and Pittsburgh game is going to be a respectable pace as well, with a 48.5 over/under expected to play at a pretty quick pace here. And Josh Allen's another QB that can really get the job done on the ground. Another guy that I'm definitely going to be highly prioritizing in my lineups because the upside is just tremendous. His team has a 27.5 implied total, expected to score plenty of points in this game. He's got Stephon Diggs on the outside, Knox at the tight end as a threat, Emmanuel Sanders now on the wideout team. Cole Beasley, a great slot option. So I definitely like pairing up Josh Allen with some of his weapons. And then on the Pittsburgh side, of course, if they get down in this game like they're expected to, similar, you can be stacking up the other side, of course, with Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, really big year last year. We saw Chase Claypool step it up. Eric Ebron, a great deep threat tight end option. So Big Ben in those stacks. And the Colts were standing out to me as well from a salary aspect over on DraftKings for sure, with Michael Pittman being too cheap. I like him a lot. You got Mo Alley Cox at the tight end position. He's a pretty good deep threat. Carson Wentz, of course, pairing him. And then Jonathan Taylor, a good pass-catching running back, and Nyheim Hines as well. And, they just stand out from a salary aspect. And then from the Seattle side, the guys are a little priced up for my liking on DraftKings with Wilson, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. 25 implied team total. It's definitely a respectable stack, but I'm not sure if you're getting too excited. We have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Lions, expected to win this game pretty easily. So I think that Raheem Mostert's going to be a name you have to really look at from the ground game. And the Green Bay Packers with the 27 implied total as well are going to be a great option. And you got Rodgers, of course, Devontae Adams, and Marcus Valdes-Scantling as the deep threat as well. I think the Green Bay Packers could really pay off for you if you're stacking them up. So no issues with you going to them either. So yeah, that's a pretty much overall breakdown there. I mean, I did want to take a quick look at FanDuel and check out some pricing there and just see if there's any values that really stand out, such as the guys we talked about with like a Marvin Jones and the Jags, etc. So let's go ahead and transition over to that before I let you guys go as well. So a quick look over here on FanDuel, switching over the salaries. Like I said, I just want to point out, I know we went over the whole slate essentially already, but maybe some different pricing discrepancies and that kind of thing as far as who I'm really looking to on FanDuel. And there's definitely a few guys that stand out to me. Most notably at the running back position, I do think there's a couple guys that are really underpriced that you can get some value out of in week one. And I think those two guys or three guys, one is Chris Carson taking on the Indianapolis Colts. I think that his 6'7" price tag is just way too cheap over here on FanDuel specifically. So he's really standing out to me to get you going from a value aspect there. We also have Harris on the Steelers, who's expected to get some run, and I really like him from a projection aspect. The problem really would be if they get down in this game, of course, the game flow and the game script, I should say, they would be throwing the ball a lot more. So he might not be getting quite as many touches, which is a little bit concerning to me. I do think that Myles Gaskin at 6K is very reasonably priced on FanDuel as well, though, so I wanted to bring him up all the way down at 6K. He's really standing out to me, right along with Raheem Mostert as well, who I had mentioned should get plenty of run, with San Francisco being big favorites and expected to take this game fairly easily. I think that he makes a lot of sense with a 27 implied total for his team. So I wanted to mention those guys. On FanDuel, I definitely like Jalen Hurts as well at the QB position. I had talked about him over on DraftKings. I think he's too cheap here at 7.6. I really like the upside for him, as well as Joe Burrow at 7.2, being a little too cheap. And then, of course, with the announcement of the release of Cam Newton, we will have Jones at a friendly price discount here as well. So, of course, Mac Jones can be put in play here. He's only 6'2" on FanDuel. And some of those same QBs we had mentioned before are very similar price over here. Jameis Winston's definitely a guy you could be looking to. You got Teddy Bridgewater as well on the Broncos if you want to go cheap. And then, of course, I'm going to have a lot of interest in paying up for some elite QBs and Mahomes, Rodgers, I had mentioned. And then we talked about the faster up-tempo games, and Jalen Hurts, Matt Ryan, Kyler Murray, Ryan Tannehill, really like those guys. And then I do think that Ryan Fitzpatrick's priced pretty reasonably for week one as well. So just a few names to throw out there. Once again, Marvin Jones is too cheap over on FanDuel as well, so he's a guy you could be looking to. And then T. Higgins is very reasonably priced over there as well. And I will say, I think that with the salary format and some of these cheaper options we've talked about, it's going to be very easy to fit in a high-priced wide receiver on FanDuel in certain builds. So I think you could definitely be paying up for like a Tyreek Hill, a Devontae Adams, etc. So that's a quick little first look at week one. I'm going to be having a lot more content coming out this week, taking a deeper dive into position by position, etc., really getting into it, but excited for the NFL season to be back. Wanted to release this first look video to kind of get our feet wet in it. And like I said, we'll be having many more videos. If you did enjoy this content, if you could please take a second to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. I wish you guys the best of luck on week 1, and we're going to have some showdown content, more coming on the way. So we will see you in the next video.